Hello, my guest is Honorable John Ntim Fordjour. He's an engineer, a preacher, and a politician. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kafui.
Let's take you all the way back to your childhood days. What were you like as a kid, where you grew up?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kafui. I mean, talking about kids, right from my childhood, when I saw you on TV, speaking impeccable English, dressed, say, hey, one day I want to speak like Kafui, and I'm so excited that, from my village in Assin Kruwa, watching you on TV, I get the opportunity to have an interview with you. My childhood has been quite humbling. From Assin Kruwa is one of the most beautiful remote villages you can find in Ghana. As in central region, we are Assin. We share borders with Kakum forests.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so farming is what you get introduced to right from childhood.
What do they grow in your area?
We do cocoa, we do oil palm, citrus, and then the usual cassava, corn, plantain, and those crops.
So your parents were farmers?
Yes, my mom is late. My mom was a pastor here. Preacher.
All right.
But also doing farming and trading on the side. My dad has been into farming, and we've all enjoyed farming, and is still doing his farming and enjoying it.
So you were going to the farm?
Yes, cocoa farming, going to the farm. By the time you are 8, everybody has their small farms.
Okay.
And of course, your parents' big farms that you do. When I was around about 10, 11, 12, that was when I entered GHS. I finished GHS around 13. I used to do Nobwa. Nobwa is when you have about 5 or 6 group of friends, and then today you go and weed in Kafui's farm, and then tomorrow it will be Fordjour's farm, and then the next day will be, a Jacquet's farm, and then you rotate.
Oh, so the group goes and works on one person's farm, and then
Absolutely.
You rotate?
And then the next day you all go to the next person's farm.
Okay. So what was the idea behind that Nobwa system?
Communal.
Okay.
So all hands will come on deck to weed on one person's farm.
Okay.
And then the next day you go to the next person's farm to weed. But sometimes, there were times some of my friends will rather take us to somebody's farm so that we weed for a fee. Okay. But the fee goes to the person who's turn it is that we're weeding.
You never got to your turn?
No. For us, whenever I go to my turn, I will have to either take it to my mother's farm or my father's farm.
Yes.
Hardly did I take it to for commercial or my own farm. So, but some of my friends, once in a while, they would take it to a neutral person's farm, and then he gets the money.
Do you still have friends who are back in Assin Kruwa, still farming?
Pretty much, yes. Most of my friends, my mates, my cousins, they're there. So anytime I'm in the village, it's exciting. I visit them, they come around, and we have a good time.
Yeah. I know you speak Ewe too.
Yes, Vide.
Yeah. How did you learn to speak Ewe?
Ewe has been one of my favorite languages.
Did you learn it when you were young?
Around SS was when I started.
Okay.
But essentially, when I got to the university, I got surrounded with some very good friends from the Volta region. And then after university, I stayed in the home of my bishop, and I had another sister who also stayed with my bishop, who is Ewe and speaks impeccable Ewe, Auntie Miriam Asseyi. And so about 50% of the Ewe I speak, I learned from her.
Hello?
Oh yeah, Vide. And in fact, at that time, I didn't even know there were different types of Ewe.
Yes.
So different. I learned, most of the ones I speak will be her type.
Yes.
Then after we separated to different places. Yeah. I met very good friends like your good self, and then I always tried. Whenever I meet you, I try to learn one vocab or the other. But interestingly, I find Ewe easy to learn than Gan.
Really?
So I think my vocabs in Ewe will be slightly more than what I know in Gan.
Okay. Do you have Ewe people in your constituency?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this helps.
I have a full community, Mankata community.
All right.
And they are 99% Ewe.
All right. So it helps.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah.
Let's just take it back to those youth times. I mean, if you look back on your youth, was there a moment where something changed the path of your life and kind of put you on a trajectory which has brought you to this office?
Yeah, I think God's hand has always been directing the affairs of my life right from childhood, because the kind of background I come from, it would have been very difficult to predict that God was going to take me this far one day.
How many siblings did you have?
We're 6.
Okay.
3 guys, 3 ladies.
What's your order?
We lost 1. I'm the last but 1.
Okay.
Yes, so we lost my sister, the one I come directly after.
May she rest in peace.
Yeah, thank you. So pretty much our ambition or aspiration was not beyond being a farmer or going to learn a trade or just that. But the teachers that we had at the time in Assin Kruwa, I'm talking about days where we had no electricity, we had no potable drinking water, our school buildings were not in the shape we have today. I wouldn't want to use some words to describe it, but I remember my class 1 day, my KG2 day,
Kindergarten.
the days in the kindergarten, we were under a tree, very big tree.
School under tree.
Yeah, we very big tree, very nice tree. We were enjoying the breeze.
And when it rained?
And we wouldn't go to school.
Simple as
it was holiday. So we started from nursery, from a New Apostolic Church building. It was a church building. So Madam Kate herself was a member of New Apostolic Church. So we were there, all the kids. After a year or some months, we go to the tree, and then from there we went to a structure, and then on and on. But I didn't get to go through all the 1 to 6. I got jumped at some point about 2 or 3 times.
You were good at the books.
So, by village standards, they said I was good.
Yeah,
so,
but you were being jumped. I mean, there's no way they would jump you if you didn't get your
by
stuff.
village standards, my teachers were excited and they held me.
Okay.
So I finished GHS in Assin Kruwa. And at the time, there was no electricity. So coming back home to study for homework, I had to make sure I finished my homework in school. Because you have to use a bobo.
Yeah, the lantern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we have the lantern, and we had another one that the women used to sell.
Is it the metal and they put a wick inside?
Yes,
Yeah.
and then directly in the kerosene.
Yeah. Homemade kind of lantern.
Yeah, with a lot of pollution. But we enjoyed it, and we got into. I got into Assin Secondary School. It's one of the best schools that anyone should experience. At the time, it was tough.
What did your parents think when you were progressing up the educational ladder?
Well, my mom had never been to school. My mom had never been to any classroom. My dad had gone to school at some point. So I'll say semi-literate, and my mom never. But my mom, so brilliant. She could read the Bible, she could read other things.
Without having gone to school?
Without having been to school.
Okay.
And so both of them were keen on giving us the kind of education they never had. And so as many of us that were really keen on education, so in their modest means that they had, they prioritized education.
Is there anything your parents told you when you were young that has stuck with you till now?
Yeah. My mom, my dad, one of the things they taught me in the beginning was about church. Very religious. We will go to church at dawn, we'll go to church in the evening, we'll go to church and on Sundays. But on the weekday, dawn prayers was compulsory for everybody in the
So
household.
they wake you up early in the morning?
Yeah, early morning you have to wake up.
Who led the prayer?
My mom.
What was your role?
Oh, just to respond, amen. But on a regular service day, I'll be playing the conga and other
drums,
other
percussion.
drums, other things, But church was
Did you
exciting.
rebel against that lifestyle? Did you think, man, why?
No. We enjoyed it.
Even when your sleep was deprived?
Initially, it was tough waking up at dawn to pray, but at some point, we got used to it.
Okay.
And so any time was done, we were ready to rush to go and
pray. Did you do Sunday school too?
No, we didn't. We just go in together, and both young and adults, we have the same service.
Okay.
Yeah, in a very small church building, community church. But at the time, it was the biggest in the village.
Okay. So early morning prayers, and you think it shaped your life in a particular way?
It did. It brought a lot of discipline. And so when I got into boarding house for the first time as a young boy, 14 years, it wasn't as difficult because I was used to waking up at dawn for prayers. Now, waking up at dawn to take your shower and get ready for class. Yeah.
What was boarding school like?
Boarding school was exciting because I will get to eat jollof. I'll get to eat some meals that I wasn't eating at home, because at home was always fufu and ampesi. But now you get
every day.
to eat
every day was fufu.
Every day. Fufu was constant supper. Every day.
Constant
I
supper.
could remember just about 3 times or 4 times we didn't have fufu for supper. You know,
It's constant.
constant, and it's as it is today. So
Yeah, you grew up with it.
Yeah, you can't miss
So
it.
what was it like when you tasted jollof for the first time?
Well, I had eaten some occasionally at home.
Yeah, okay.
But Christmas,
Yeah.
you get to eat rice during Christmas. Though it wasn't as nice as I thought, but I mean, it was fun having maybe once a month or once a week some jollof, some egg. But even more interesting was the experience of using fork and knife for the first time.
Okay.
I remember the story when my dad did his best. He went to we went to Cape Coast, bought my prospectus, fork, and they wrote cutlery into bracket fork and knife. So he bought fork and knife. So I went to the first dining. I took out my fork and I took out my knife.
Have you had practice before?
No, I never
This
practiced.
was your first time you were
My
holding this
first time. And then I have this mark here. I'll tell you the history behind that mark. So I took it out and it cut me so sharp. I was in a hurry to go to dining. I had this senior say, but what are you holding? I said, it was fork and knife. I said, why holding knife? I said, but they said we should buy fork and knife. And we bought fork and knife. It was actually knife, not the cutlery knife.
Serious
the
knife.
Sharp one. You know?
But the fork was a regular one.
The fork was a regular fork. But the knife was knife, as in proper knife we used to peel oranges.
Your students were shocked.
My seniors were shocked. Did they give
you a nickname after that?
I had some nicknames, but that would be another
No, I want to
story.
hear it. I want to hear it.
So, he insulted me. And
How did
gave
you
me
feel?
this.
How did you feel?
I think I was too young to feel embarrassed.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't fully understand the extent of embarrassment.
Okay.
So I didn't feel embarrassed. But on hindsight, I feel it was really an embarrassing thing, to go to school with fork and knife. So he took my knife and gave me the cutlery.
Oh, at least he helped you.
Then, yeah, but it cost me a bit.
Is that what cut your finger?
Oh yeah, this
From that knife?
Yeah, from that knife.
Wow. So you
I
retired
was
the
in a
knife quietly
hurry.
in your chop box?
Oh
You didn't
yes,
use it
I think
again?
my senior took it and threw it away somewhere. I didn't see anything.
Was it a mixed school? Assin
Assin was a mixed school.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in Chi House, one of the finest house anybody should be. Our color was red.
Okay.
Our girls were Otten House. So all the boys were in one building. Now we have about 2 or 3 different dormitories, but we had one dormitory or one building, and then we had divided into 3. So 2 houses down, 2 houses up, and then the girls were also in another building, and then we had the dining. But now Assin so is big, it's expanded.
It's expanded.
Yeah, so going to dining for the first time, and then you having to be taught how to use fork and knife. It was a big struggle, eating rice. We used our hands for rice
regular.
and then everything. Now, even kinky had to use fork and knife.
Oh, really? KK?
Yes, and then you had ladies right in front of you, and then sometimes you have to overcome the shyness, and then you have to eat like maybe 60-70% and leave the rest. But
The rest for who?
Around.
You don't want to finish everything from the
You're not
ladies, right?
full, but you have to. But it shaped us
It did.
how to be a gentleman.
Yeah.
And how to also live in the multicultural world, and it preps you up to be a real gentleman.
What were your favorite subjects in school?
Biology.
Okay.
Well, biology was my favorite. I would learn biology every day. Okay. I wanted to be a medical doctor. Myself and my friend Mercy Onuma, we were always brackets. We're topping biology. I mean, with a great of respect to my other friends, very brilliant. Some of them were more brilliant in other subjects. But when it comes to biology,
that was your baby.
Just me and Mercy. And then apart from biology, English, literature. I took interest in English because from my village background, my teachers did their best. But I finished GHS without the ability to construct a single sentence correctly in English.
Wow.
So talking was in English, speaking English was difficult.
Does it amaze you that at some point in time you became Deputy Minister for Education?
It was amazing. It was really amazing.
Yeah.
I thought that was God's hand. It was really ironical, being born to a semi-illiterate father and an illiterate, completely illiterate mother.
In English.
And then their child becoming a deputy minister. And I finished JHS without knowing how to speak English. I got into boarding house, and I had friends from Accra, Cape Coast, Takoradi, Fosu, various places, Kumasi, and they were rattling English. I had to become very quiet all of a sudden. I wasn't originally quiet, but I had to be quiet because there was this culture in school. Anytime you got a sentence wrong or a word or a phrase wrong, it became your nickname.
Oh.
So it really shut me up. I couldn't talk. But I had one friend, Theophilus. And Theophilus, very calm gentleman, very brilliant. He would not let anyone know if he made a mistake. So I worked closely with him. And anytime I had a sentence I wasn't sure about, I'll say it in his presence. He'll correct me. If it's quiet, then it means it's correct. I took to reading because I really wanted to overcome that kind of embarrassment. There was one time I was embarrassed at prep during a weekend when the class, one of my seniors came to join us in our class studying. There was something I was copying on the board. He stood up. He had blocked my view. And then I didn't know what to tell him to excuse me. So I just said, senior, watch yourself. Meaning like, because in Chi, that's what we'll say.
You're translating literally.
Yes. You know, watch yourself. And he had to make me repeat it 3 times and then drew attention. All the girls were laughing.
Oh, Charlie.
And I was like, what's this trying to say?
Yeah.
And then one lady said, oh, senior, he's just trying to let you know you have blocked his view, so excuse him. Then I put it in my mind, okay, so now next time, that's what I had to say. But it was a major embarrassment. I resolved from there that I have to study, I have to overcome whatever it takes, I have to overcome this grammar issue and be one of the best in English, orally, written, comprehensive. So I took to the library a lot, reading.
What books were you reading? What kind of books were you reading?
I don't remember some of the titles, but there were novels.
Novels, okay.
Yeah, fiction.
Poems? Do you like poems?
Poems, yes, poems.
Okay.
In addition to the Julius Caesar, the Amartedu, the Things Fall Apart.
Do you remember some of the poems? Your favorite poem?
Yeah, some of the poems I may not remember, but some of the lines.
Some of the lines, yeah, a few lines.
Yeah, like A2 Brutus, you know, A2 Brutus, Julius, some of the Amartedu's books and some of the works from Efo Mawugbe. Yeah, and then Things Fall Apart, the Okonko, and a number of very nice, constructions. So literature was actually one of my best.
And it helped you?
My best, it helped. And by the time I was done with secondary school, I actually became one of the people who could speak well.
Did you become like a prefect, any of the...
Yeah, I became a library prefect.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
books.
Reading.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Books and
it was all building you for the education
Absolutely.
job. All the books.
Absolutely.
And then you finished SHS, what happens?
So after SHS, because I did science, I wanted so much to become a medical doctor.
Why?
Because every child wanted to be a doctor in the village.
Did you know any doctors?
Well, no, we didn't have any doctor from the village.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't have any. It was just a fanciful
a wish.
Wish,
Yeah.
and I really wanted to. I thought, doctors look so noble and nice. They study so much, and it was very noble to be a doctor. We have never had a doctor in my family. As a matter of fact, not even a graduate. So, but unfortunately, I didn't. Biology was my worst grade. My best subject became my worst grade.
That's an irony.
Math, I did elective maths for just a year, but it turned out to be my best grade. Physics, that was not my least favorite, became my best. So
what happened? What happened to the biology?
I don't know what happened. I think the questions that came were too difficult. They were too strange.
Yeah.
My biology teacher, Mr. Gardner Harrison, wherever you are, God bless you, my favorite teacher. But for some reason, that was my least. So, but I passed it anyway. So I had to go the obvious way. I couldn't go to become medicine unless I could afford protocol.
Okay.
But all the big people I could talk to said, no, we can't help you. Use what your grade can afford you.
Yeah.
So my dad took me to Ken University, bought some forms, and then I saw one program, mineral engineering. I thought, this sounds nice. Mineral engineering. I didn't know what it was.
You didn't know what it was? Just the sound.
Fanta or cocoa, some minerals. So I chose it. And then when admission came, they said, no, mineral engineering and mining and geology is all done in Takwa. At the time, Western University College of Ken University, now University of Mines and Technology.
That's it.
So I had to go there. So I was excited. I went to Takwa for the first time.
What was that like? Memories of Takwa?
It was exciting. I had never seen that part of Ghana. The first time traveling there. And then I got there alone, myself, 17-year-old, poised for university. And
You're pretty young, oh?
Very, very young. And meeting new friends, new environment. I was ready to explore the adventure.
Did anybody from Assin join you at that
No,
point?
no.
With the
I
first
was
guy
the only one from Assin. I had another mate who went to All Nations, and then others who went to a few other universities, but not many of us that year went. But later on, a number of them, but some of my seniors had also been to UCC and other. So it was a small community. At the time, UMass was not more than 1,000. The whole university was.
So you knew pretty much everybody?
We knew everybody. So from first year to final year, at least for all the first years, you get to know all of them.
Yeah.
And then those in your department or faculty, you get to know most of them up to third year or final year. And we bonded well, and it was a Christian community. University of Mines and Technology, even as it is now, is a very close community, but I mean, very disciplined, very committed lecturers who are very interested in your development beyond the classroom. So I learned a lot. The current Vice Chancellor, Professor Richard Kwesi,
yes,
was my lecturer at the time, was a doctor.
Okay.
I took a lot of inspiration from him. He mentored me a lot beyond just becoming a mineral engineer. Mineral engineering is basically mining, processing, really.
Okay.
But beyond that,
so when they take the gold and things out of the ground, then the processing is where you come in.
So bauxites, iron, any kind of ore, gold, diamonds, right from the ground to the finished products.
Did you ever go to visit some of the mines?
Oh yes, I worked in the mines.
Oh,
yes.
You went to it?
Yeah, okay. UMass is structured like that, right from, particularly in those days where the numbers were low, we're just about 30 in the class averagely. From first year, you get to have field trips to visit the mines. By second year, you get to have industrial attachment.
So have you been on the ground?
Yes, we've been.
What was that like?
It's just for my program, it didn't really relate. Mining engineers do a lot of the underground, but just to go see.
So you went underground?
A few things, yeah, just once.
What was it like? Scary?
It's interesting, but
it's dark, right?
Yeah, very dark. Ventilation and all that. But it's a strange world. But when you get used to it, I mean, that's your workplace.
Did you pray before you went underground?
Definitely. Definitely. But I mostly worked in a plant, in a processing plant, metallurgy. Others call mineral engineering metallurgy. So that's where we visited in those days. By the time you are in third year, you find a company that Goldfields or Newmont or Anglo Gold adopting, or Sanko adopting you and then getting you training offers on their plans. So for those very bright and maybe the top 10 in the class, then by the time you are done, your national your national service is already waiting.
Who adopted you?
I had mine with a champion Golden Star.
Okay.
So in my second year, Golden Star plant was where I worked in the plant for a month and a half. And then later on, I developed other interests beyond engineering. And so in an attempt to escape from poverty, because life was tough even while I was in university, I had to work extra to even pay my fees. Quite apart from the first fees I paid, that was in full, the next, for the second year, third year, and all those years, I couldn't pay my fees in full. There were even times I didn't even have any money to pay, as deposits. So I had to go to my head of department, either Dr. Now Professor Bois or Professor Sapoma or Professor Amankwa, because those were the heads of department at the time, and Professor Dankwa, for them to give me undertaking that I don't have money now, but they should register me, and in the course of the semester I'll pay.
What was it like? What kind of emotions did you have with this situation? Did you get depressed?
I had to master a lot of courage to avoid depression. There were times that were tough. I mean, even what to eat was not available. Yeah, so the embarrassing cycle of having to write undertaking every time you have to pay your fees took a bit of toll. And whenever exam was approaching, your hearts would be throbbing. And I mean, how can I pay before the time? Because without your payment, you will not be allowed to sit the exam. But God came through somehow.
How did you find the money?
Family,
for those?
friends,
Okay.
uncle,
You ask people, right?
brother, parents, yeah. And then I also took upon myself trading. I was selling perfumes
on campus.
On campus,
Okay.
and then in town.
Really?
Yeah.
You buy it
get
from and then come and sell?
Yeah, I get it from I get some supplies from.
If you could recommend some perfume to me, what perfume should I be buying? I don't like very strong perfume.
Well,
a
now,
nice brand, yes.
now
Yeah.
I'll say Tom Ford.
Tom Ford.
Yeah, Tom Ford Oud or other brands of Tom Ford and the other. But at the time, those were not the kind of perfumes I was
What were you
selling.
selling at that time? What were you selling at that time?
I remember, and I knew very little about it. So there was one time I was selling, and then on those bottles, I don't know where the distributors brought it from, but you know, the kind of perfume I was selling, I knocked one door, I said, I'm selling perfume. And they opened, I mean, they are very rich boys. I said, okay, what kind of perfume? Before I brought it out, I mentioned, oh, Calvin Klein, gold, and I said, how much is your perfume? I mentioned the price. That cannot be.
Calvin Klein is on this level.
Calvin Klein cannot be sold for. So bring it out, let us see. I brought it out, they shook their heads, okay, you next time. But I had my markets.
Okay.
There were other people
who afford it.
Who didn't care about. I mean, so long as there was something in the nicely packaged though. I don't know where they were getting it from, but when he sprayed it, the fragrance was okay.
And it stayed for a while.
Yes.
Did you have female customers too?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Most of it were for actually female.
What are the good
perfumes.
female brands at that time?
At the time, I honestly I wouldn't remember the brands. Yeah, but the shapes were what really the way they were shaped. The
Like a female body or something like that.
Yeah, and then some round top opening, and I sold a lot of them.
You became a perfume expert.
Yes,
Yeah.
Not an expert,
But as a trader.
just a trader. And then I made some money. That was somewhere like second year, third year. But third year, final year, I got an idea and registered a business. I borrowed money from a friend, and then set up a business with the help of some of my friends, Kusi, Ohine, Seth Sapong, and then we got one of our seniors, Abe, now Dr. Abe, who came to Accra and registered a business for us.
The perfume business?
No, this one was separate.
What was this?
So this was into human capital.
Okay.
Now I had moved from the sales into running training programs for the mining companies.
Makes
and
sense.
running training programs and entrepreneurial sessions for students on campus.
Who were the teachers?
And I had very seasoned lecturers.
Okay.
Seasoned industry players. Some were GMs of mining companies, some were CEOs. And at the time, even though remotely, but the CEO of UT Bank, Captain Amabing, remotely was supporting me, giving me ideas. And he was the board chair of the company.
Of your
company? We
company?
had never met. I just connected with him on phone, and then he would give me that. I said, oh, no problem, I'll guide you for free. Mr. Dead to me was also very supportive. And so, and a number of others. So,
what did you call the company?
Initiatives Consult.
Is it still alive?
It is.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Initiatives Consult. It has given birth to other companies.
Okay.
But Initiative Consult is the first laugh, and it's done anyone who went to UMAT around that time between 2003 to 2007 would know Initiatives Consult.
How did you pick the name?
Just came by inspiration.
Initiatives Consult.
Yeah, Initiatives Consult. So, with the support of Professor Amankwa, Mr. Bashir Ahmed, and other great individuals, we're able to put resource persons together for every training program. And we got people from the mines around Takwa who would participate. We held programs on quarterly basis, sometimes even on monthly basis, some for students, some for staff. And then it's evolved from there into outsourcing. Okay. Human capital, HR outsourcing. And so we did that, and then we went into mining support services.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. You're busy.
So it evolved from there, and that was when, from humble beginnings, the entrepreneurship started. But just when I graduated, 25, at the age of 21, when I graduated, I felt I should put the business on hold for a while, get into the corporate environment, and get some experience. Then later, we'll come back to take up entrepreneurship, very informed and skilled.
Were you a preacher back then? By then?
No, but I was a campus pastor.
You were a campus pastor. What does that mean?
we had campus fellowships, and the fellowship I joined is Campus Christian Family.
Okay.
It is a very big wing, CC, a very big wing where all the charismatic churches would combine.
And it's on different campuses too.
Yeah,
So I think I remember it on UG. And
it's very vibrant. University of Ghana, even as it is, as today, Ken UST, Central University,
Okay.
UCC doesn't have CC. They have it in another name. But for Ken UST, University of Ghana, UMAT, Cape Coast Technical University, Sunyani, Accra Technical, and other technical universities, CC is very strong. So I was a secretary for 2 years. And if you're a secretary, you're like the administrator of the church, and you get to give announcement, preach sometimes. So it's like you're pastoring together with your president and the vice president. You are the top executive. So I did that in the latter part of maybe about the last 2 years there. So my life on campus was very busy. Studies, business on the side, and then church.
Yep.
And then I was into campus politics, SRC, faculty,
okay.
Negotiating on behalf of students, AFUF, anytime academic board had to consider certain policies or some fee increment, you needed student representatives to,
Is that where your politics actually started?
So that's where I would say,
okay.
Started. But at the time, it wasn't done on ambition of becoming a politician in the future, but I just thought it was nice to debate in the interest of students. And coming from a deprived background, you needed the best value for students, and you needed to carry the sentiments of the ordinary students across when such decisions were taken.
Did you run for office?
Yes, faculty rep, which was an office, statute was a new position created in the SRC, but now it has changed into other names.
Okay.
But so after university, after national service, I went into Goldfields, but not as an engineer. I went into a human resources department because of my company, the firm that myself and my friends we had run around human capital. So I got some experience and then leveraged that to get into human resources department. My first boss, Mr. William Empe, he was very young at the time, and was a fantastic leader. He knew his stuff. He took me under his wings, and the training and development department trained me, gave me a very big position. It wasn't a position for starters. I was just favored by God and by my boss, Mr. William Empe. Started me from the middle, a place where it would have taken somebody 10 years in the company to get to as a senior.
What do you think he saw in you?
I really don't know what he saw.
Maybe I
have to ask him.
You probably have to ask him.
But one time he told me, look, when I was getting promoted from senior training officer to human resources superintendent, within just about a year and a half into the role, he said, look, whatever I saw that made me take you in and brought you this far, you need extra in going from here. And that was a very profound statement.
So what did you do with that statement?
So I had to work extra hard. I had to develop myself, add value, and maintain the confidence they had in me. Martin Van der Merwe was also another boss, late, who was a very big mentor and had saw whatever he saw in me, gave me the opportunity. So at the age of 24, I had become a human resources superintendent. And averagely, you needed to be about 40 or so to be able to get to that role.
What was it like working with people much older than you? Because you'll be a boss at a very early age, in your 20s, and you're dealing with what challenges that you...
Initially, it was quite intimidating, because starting from a role where most people will be retiring. About 2 of my colleagues were in the same rank, but they were retiring, just the next year. And I was just 22 years or so.
Like 30 plus years ahead of you in terms of age.
They were my dads. Yeah. They could give, but some of their kids were even older than me. But it was humbling. And so I needed to hold that role very seriously. I didn't have to disappoint for it to fit into the fear that you can't trust young men with such sensitive roles. I had to work extra harder. And then learned a lot of principles from my bosses. Be there before your boss comes. My boss comes to work very early. I have to be there earlier than that and leave after he had left. And even more importantly, deliver. And I was catering to the senior officials within the company, the expatriates, the senior officials, locals, nationals, and then to everyone, because it was like administering the entire training departments. Everybody entering the company interfaces with you. You needed to make sure logistics were available. You have to track the development plan, individual development plan of staff, over 3,500. Make sure you schedule their training overseas, offsite, on-site, ensure the logistics were available to run the training center, schedule, ensure the classroom, the facilities were all done. And when we're talking about mining standards, the standards are really high, really high. And so at that, it was a very good exposure I got at that age for a very short time. And then my bosses saw something else and promoted me to mainstream HR as a superintendent, now with about 4 officers reporting to me. And by the grace of God, I excelled. And I'd never studied anything administration, academically, but from the knowledge of engineering, the experiences from the initiatives consult, the coaching and mentoring I got, God helped me to be successful. So after I did that for just about 3.5 or so years, I now felt that I could now come back to take up my entrepreneurship and to expand, create more jobs for many more people. I don't have to be comfortable. The kind of money I was earning at the time in my early 20s on the mine and that kind of position was really big, quite attractive. The conditions, my house, my car, for a village boy. Life was good. God had blessed me, but I needed to think beyond myself and to look back at my friends, colleagues, and other cousins within Assin enclave I grew up with who also needed jobs. And then Initiative Consult was there. So I stopped, came back to take Initiatives Consult. And then within less than 6 months, we had grown it to 120 staff. I went back to Assin to pick about 30 people from there, youth from there, brought them. We were operating on about 10 mining companies at Champem, Daman, Takwa, Diaprim, Obuase, Ayamfre. We went to very good business, mining support services. Total Petroleum at the time was a big player in the mining, fuel, and the lubricant supply chain, and we were their subcontractors. So wherever there was mines and there was lubricants, there was fuel, were there. Initiative Consult. So it was big.
Were the banks helping?
At the time, we didn't really need the support of banks to do the kind of job we're doing. Yeah, so the contract fees and the kind of things we're doing were quite profitable.
Okay. And just plowed back into the business.
Yes, and we managed it. So we grew it from I think 85 to 120 staff. We did that for about 5 years, and then we metamorphosed into other things, and then politics came along.
Yes, tell me about that. When did politics come knocking?
So politics came along when my predecessor, Professor Fobi, very respected legislator and educationist, had done 16 years.
He was a former education minister?
Yes, he was former education minister. He had held about 3-4 different cabinet portfolios within the period of 8 years in President Kufuor's era. And then he did another 8 years in opposition. And then he felt that he had paid his dues and needed to retire. So my people came knocking that, look, Professor Fobi is not going again. We need somebody to replace him. And I felt that I had newly been ordained a pastor. I had started my branch in East Legon barely a year. Why? I just want to focus on doing my business as a businessman and then also doing God's work. But to add politics was never part of the dream.
This was about around 2015?
Yes, this was 2015, exactly 2015. Yeah. That was when I got ordained in 2014 and started the church. And then 2015 was when the primaries was calling. And so I was a bit hesitant, but I prayed and I got a leading. I spoke to my bishop, I spoke to a couple of my prayer partners, my prophets, friends, and some fathers, and they said, no, look, the leading of the Holy Spirit you cannot ignore. They felt positive about it, and I stepped in. It was just, at the time I took the decision to run, a very good friend, Percy Dennis, he's currently the Central Regional Chairman. He was then Central Regional Youth Organizer. And then he approached me and said, you have to come, and take over. So when I took the decision, it was just exactly 2 months and a day to the primaries itself. So I took the decision a day before the deadline for filing of nominations. I got in there. I didn't know there was that many number of contenders.
How many contenders?
There were 6. So I was the 6th one. There were 5 already.
Fighting for one seat.
2 successful professors, 2 successful businessmen, very astute. The youngest was about 52 at the time.
How old were you then?
I was my late 20s, 28 or so. Yeah, I think about 27, 28 years old. And I got in. I said, but you didn't tell me there were too many people in the race already. You created the impression as if nobody is contesting. But I got in. It was tough, very, very tough. But most of the things I was hearing about politics now were playing out.
What did you hear?
Another interview will say.
What did you hear? What did you hear? Because you see, faith and politics are not, they are very hard to mix. How did you,
Yeah.
how were you able to, what did your church people say when they heard that you were going to run?
It was strange because at the time, no pastor had to become a mainstream politician. Maybe an elder, fine, but for a pastor, to be in a charismatic church, to want to go into politics had never happened. So it was strange, but for some reason, I got the support of the church.
Nobody came up to you and said, Pastor, no. Nobody, not even one?
No. If you come to my branch is about, I would say my branch is about 50-50. You find all kinds of party people there. We have 4 NDC. One we lost, they were so happy.
But it's okay in the church.
Singing, oh yeah, they come. They were singing their songs. And
in the church?
When they come after church, they will come around and they will teasing me. And very fantastic people. We have 4 NDC, we have 4 MPP and other parties, and people also not interested in politics.
Yeah. So did you found the church yourself?
It's just a branch of Victory Bible Church.
Okay, all right.
Bishop Enetakia Boy.
So you are
founder,
running it.
and yes, Bishop Enetakia Boy is a great father, great prophet. He founded the church 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was only privileged to start that branch in East Legon.
Yeah. Okay.
So Bishop was very supportive.
Didn't people have a fear that you would have to lie as a politician?
Those fears were there, and other things, other misperception connoted with juju and all kinds of things.
Juju?
With all the things we hear about politics.
I don't hear too much about juju, but people talk about it.
Oh yeah, black magic and all kinds of things. They're all misperception. Yeah, but some of them were playing out because the first week we set out on our trip going around various places to campaign. I think the second day, the vehicle, Land Cruiser Prado, I was in it with my team on the highway. For whatever happened, the car some assaulted. Some assaulted about 3 times, and when it finally landed, if we were facing this way, the car had turned facing the other side. And nobody got hurt. The car was damaged, but nobody, not even a single scratch.
How many were you in the car?
We were 6 in the car because it was, there's a back, there's a third seat that you're able to. Yes. So
can you imagine what was going through your mind when the thing was happening?
I know it was scary.
Lots of Jesuses.
A lot of Jesus, a lot of prayer, and other people who are also supporting me in the car. It was terrible. Then we got to it dawned on us that look, in this game, you need Jesus, and you need Him strongly. And so, if you are coming in, you must come in forcefully and fully backed by Jesus, because you need a force to back you, and you, whatever you do, you need a force
to back you.
Yes, to back you. And I chose Jesus to be my backing.
Did you have any pushback from fellow reverends who are thinking, man, what kind of decision is you're going to mess up your name? Why are you doing politics? Just stay in the church and run your business. Did you get that from some of your fellow reverends?
Outside Victory Bible Church, there was some concerns that, this a strange phenomenon. Elders can go, but for a pastor to do many church policies did not even allow that. So it was strange, and they will look at you some way Are you a proper or soulful? Or because politics and pastoring, they don't go together. So it was a new phenomenon, and people looked very suspicious.
But your bishop backed you?
But my bishop and my pastors that are around me, Bishop Osari, all my friends, pastors and prophets, they said, no, it might be new, but there has to be, somebody to blaze the trail. And so you have to get in. Daniel did it, and then he was successful. And many other examples. And then at the time, Professor Osibanjo, were told he was a pastor and still a pastor of RCCG, redeemed, and had done, he wasn't a mainstream politician, but had gone to succeed. And so they felt that, no, we could give it a shot.
Okay.
But that incident.
The accident.
Yeah, that accident dawned on me that I needed to take my Jesus seriously, because now it's not about pastoring only, but I'm entering into another realm, and then I need to go fully prepared spiritually, because these are spiritual affairs, and others coming with all kinds of forces. Your only force is Christianity. But see, the advantage I got was that there's no power that is bigger than Jesus. There's no name bigger than Jesus. And so even when there were suggestions from other people, hey, you have to go and see this video, we have to go here, we have to go here.
I know they recommended some spiritualists for you?
A lot of recommendations. Some people will come and say, I have taken some politicians here before, so let me take you there. And then I said, no, I'm not interested. And some will even go to the sense, okay, I know you're suffering. If you can't go, you allow me, let me go and stand in
for him.
Yeah, prosy, I'll go and stand in. I said, no, please, you don't have my permission to go anywhere. Because you see, what I know is that when you go somewhere, whatever power you think you're going to take to invoke or to back you, there's another power that is higher than that. And so if you're not lucky and you encounter a superior power, you are finished. But if you take on Jesus, there is no power that can ever equate to Jesus' power. I mean, he has, all power belongs to him. And therefore, you need to align with a superior source of power so that you conquer any battle that comes your way. You conquer any resistance or diabolic agenda, incantations or divinations that may come across your way. So I just went fully. If you're walking by the roadside and you take one side, hardly will a car knock you down. But you stay in the middle, the one coming will knock you off, the one behind you, they will smash you. So it is always safe. If you are here, you are here. If you are here, you are here. And I chose to be here. And it's worked, and it's working.
Any other strange phenomena during the campaign beyond that?
Very, very, very strange. The first time when I won the primaries, and also everything played out. Like some of the things God has shown me in my dreams. Even before I decided to join politics, God just played out, showed me vividly how I will win my primaries, exactly even the numbers I will use to beat my opponents. Everything played out. So when the results for my primaries were coming, I was in tears. I was like, God, this is amazing. Everything was just vivid. So it is possible to do politics with God and succeed. And then all those mysteries got unfolded. But after I won primaries, in a very strange way, because I was the last to campaign. All of them had their followers. But God made it possible for me to win. We got into the campaign proper. Another shock I was confronted with. And I had heard about in politics, you can lie about somebody, you can put a fabrication on somebody that was lying here, lying there. But there was one time I got called. When they called, my team called me and said, Fordjour, you say, when you be here,
they say you've gone to sleep with somebody's wife.
Yes, you are dating, you are having an affair with somebody's wife. I said, how can it be possible? And they said, but the person's husband, together with the person, are going from station to station, house to house, and declaring it, that you claim you're a pastor, you have slept with her, and then the husband is a witness. And they are saying all those things. I said, who might that be? And they mentioned some name. I said, I've never even met anybody like that. I don't even know. And then the matter was big. My reputation was in tatters. Because how can you possibly, even pastoral thing aside, how can you sleep with a married woman and all that, have an affair? It destroyed my reputation. It took a jab at my campaign. Then I said, no, I won't let this slide. Let's get to the bottom of it. So my team and I, got into it. And we want to know the people. And then when we went into it, turns out confessions started coming. And then one of the chiefs got involved. Nana Kwenkwe Berima, the chief of Injurisi at the time, it was the acting paramount chief, or the acting president of Ateninsu Traditional Council at the time. And then he stepped into the matter. So no, I know Ntim Fordjour and his integrity. He won't do that. And when he investigated the matter, the couple came to him begging that they had heard that I'm going to take the matter up spiritually and they don't know where I'm taking it and it's not true, and that they got paid by my opponents to put that lie on me, and that they had never really met me one-on-one. They only see me that person or in pictures or something. It never happened. And
so wasn't the guy shy that he said he was a witness of somebody sleeping with his wife?
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
On one side, it is so ridiculous that even if it was true, for a husband to own up that
he has
this
seen it.
humiliation and being a witness. And then on the other side of the coin, it was so diabolic that if the husband will come out to say it happened, then
it's probably true.
And then the wife has also conceded and confessed. Then it's so credible, because now you have a witness.
Yeah.
And the witness is not a faraway person, the person's own husband.
So did he apologize to you?
Yes. So they apologized, and the king, Nana Kwenkwe Berima, didn't take it kindly. He really rebuked them and all kinds of things. And traditionally, when you put up such a lie, there's a lot of things you have to go through. And Tamkesia and all that.
Yeah,
but the king rebuked them, the chief rebuked them and was lenient and said that they should come and apologize to me. So I called them and I said, no, I don't even want to meet them. If they have confessed to you, they should just go back to the same radio stations,
and say it.
The same local information centers and the same house to house, and to deny or to debunk and to say the truth. So they went around and said all that. And everybody was, so it wasn't true. And you made that. But I was shocked to think that somebody can be paid
to
lie about his own wife. And I had never met the lady before.
It was almost like a baptism of fire into the world of the dirty side of politics.
Yeah, it was a big baptism. It was shocking. But I'm glad that I encountered those things at the early phases of my campaign, my political career. And so as we speak now, there's really nothing new that will amaze me.
Because you've seen it.
Because I've seen a lot of things.
When did you know you were winning the election? The first time into Parliament, 2016.
Yeah, 2016, it was a tough battle. All the elections, I've never been into a cheap election. From primaries to all the elections, including the recent one. They've all been tough. And so I take every campaign differently, seriously. I fight. Apart from the fact I know I have the grace of God and the favor of God backing me. Look, my team, everybody knows that we will fast, we will pray. If you don't fast and pray, you will not be part of
the team. You're not the team.
No, I will not allow you to play certain key roles. But in addition to all that, we still fight day and night. We work so hard. We have to be tight on strategy. We have to be precise on everything we do. We have to work hard and break our backs to win the vote.
Is that the secret of winning an election?
It's one of it. So I was fighting from a very difficult point because there was very big shoes I was fitting in. Professor Fobi's shoes. He was already very popular. All of us, when we were kids, we knew Professor Fobi as our hero, and now our votes had so dwindled. His opponent had gone twice with him, a female, very beautiful female, very beautiful lady who had been an incumbent DCE, and the vote was that tiny, about 1,600 vote between MPP and NDC parliamentary. And so they knew that once that lady was standing, whoever new person is coming. And I was very young, now small boy way there, on some cry. And then there was another alliance with PPP candidates. He got some numbers, and they thought that when they added those numbers together, So it was a tough, very popular lady, very beautiful lady, resourceful, and a young man. So I had to work hard. And my team was fantastic, very hard-working team, influential team. The young, the old, the women, the men, and then we all worked together, and then we won over 7,600 difference. And so we widened the gap.
How did you celebrate when you won?
It was nice. It felt good that we had waged that kind of campaign, and won, and also coincided with the massive victory of President Kafui Dey. And so we're taking power. We had also won a seat. We had 169 seats. It was the euphoria. Everything was really nice and powerful and fulfilling. Then the next election came.
Yeah. So now you became a politician and a preacher.
So now politician and a preacher, a member of parliament and a preacher.
Have you been in a political meeting where you would say something like, no, I can't go along with this because it goes against your Christian values?
There have been instances.
Yeah.
There have been instances. One of the instances, though controversial, but a public one that everybody knows, that at the time, I was the only person from my side that co-sponsored the LGBT
The
bill.
proper family values
bill. Yes, I was the only person from my side.
Why did you decide to stick out
like that? Every member of parliament supported the bill. But if we are talking about go and sponsor,
yes,
at the time when your party is in power, it can be very controversial. But I did it.
Did you feel alone?
Well, you're alone. You're alone in signing, in co-sponsoring the bill from your side, but you have the support of the rest of your colleagues because all of them pledged their support openly and publicly and also on the floor of parliament. So you are not alone. But when it comes to those whose names had been put down, and if there's anyone to be tracked, anyone to be profiled, anyone to suffer sanctions or anyone, it is your name.
Did you suffer any negative
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things.
What happened to you?
A lot of things I went through. Sometimes my colleagues will travel to another country, and then they'll come back and they're scared for me, because the kind of things the foreign counterparts and threats they would say to them, I'm not in the meeting with my name, and they come back and say, is it possible you can take a decision on this, because the kind of things they said, if they are going to do it, it's terrible for you. So no, I'm ready for whatever they will do, but so many other things, inconveniences here and there. But if you are standing by a conviction, you should be ready that there should be inconveniences. If you are standing for the truth, if you are standing for what is right and what is not usual, you should expect unusual resistance, unusual attacks, and unusual reprisals. And so you need to be bold in this game if you have to stand for a strong conviction.
Were there any moments where you felt, hey, Charlie, fear, this is dangerous?
Oh yeah, we got to some points like that, but you have to be bold, and then finish off what you start.
Where was the danger coming from?
Well, we'll discuss more.
What's the status of that bill? Because go ahead.
Because the LGBT family is a very powerful one in this country and globally. The richest are within that. So they are the movers and shakers of world economies. They're the movers and shakers of policies here and there. They are movers and shakers of cultural, movements, and so a lot can happen when you are standing and pushing a conviction openly, that is at variance with such people. Yeah, even including your seat. My seat has been targeted, for a very long time because they don't like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They felt that if I'm out, maybe they will have some peace, and so a lot of the difficulties I've had in the past campaigns I've had to run, particularly the last two, had been largely because of my involvement in standing for the proper Ghanaian values and standing for human sexual rights that are not repugnant to our values, but that are in line with God's word, in line with all the beliefs, and in line with our traditions, and in line with our norms. And you have many people who will not be happy with that.
Indeed. What's the status of that bill now? It expired with the last parliament. We have a new parliament now. What's the deal?
So
what's the latest?
Yeah, so in the 8th parliament, myself, my good friend, Honorable Sam George, Honorable Bedra, and Honorable De La Sowa, who could not join the 9th parliament, Honorable Helen Tonso, and a few other friends, we came together and co-sponsored the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. We had a very strong technical support from the Coalition on Proper Sexual Human Rights, lawyer from Amwani, and then the religious organizations were all with us: Christian Council, Charismatic, Ghana Pentecostal Charismatic Council. We had the Chief Imam and all the Muslim clergy and all the Ghana Bishop Conference. They were all all of them were supported us. We had the House of Chiefs, all the chief traditional rulers also strongly supporting. And so largely a lot of CSOs also supported. However, you had a few who dissented. And we feel that given the pressures and the tendencies in our society, though homosexuality, lesbianism have been old phenomena, ancient phenomenon. However, there was no society that really accepted. So there had been some elements within, but they are not really accepted. And every society that really wanted to be resilient had taken steps and to ensure that they protect their values. And we thought that we need to take steps to protect our values a step further. Though in the 1960 Criminal and Other Offences Act, there was some provision for natural carnal knowledge, but that is anachronistic. And so it is no longer, very useful to be applied comprehensively against the very sophisticated emergence of, lesbianism, gay, bisexual. Bisexual may not even be such a big, but pansexual and the queer and transgender and all the other sophisticated fluid emergence. You can't treat that. You can't confront such, repugnant tendencies with just a stroke of natural carnal knowledge. How are you going to handle all those? So we needed to make a more robust, a more comprehensive framework to properly address the matter, even dovetailing into the advocacy, the promotion, the subtle introduction into school systems, into the movie industry and media. So we needed to have a more modern, contemporary, yet legally sound and robust framework. And that is where we propose the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill.
Are you disappointed that the former president didn't sign that bill?
There were a number of factors that led to his inability to sign, but I would have wished that those factors did not hinder him, and I would have wished that all those plethora of legal battles the bill had to suffer, right from the inception to the first reading, consultation, second reading, third reading, even all the way to its passage. Number of legal battles, they were bombarded. The bill was bombarded with it. Every stage we had legal battles. We fought it all the way to Supreme Court, and there were even legal battles challenging the transmittance. Even after we had passed it, Speaker Bagbin was fantastic. Right Honorable Speaker Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin was super fantastic, and he's still supporting greatly because that's
Is he still pushing it?
Strong conviction.
So the bill has been reintroduced?
We have reintroduced it.
Okay.
But we had a lot of legal battles. Even when we had survived all and passed it, we had legal battles challenging the transmittance of the bill to the president for assent.
Was there a fear to have this bill signed from your party and from the president? Because you were only one out of 8.
I wouldn't say fear, because legislation is a legal process, and therefore, if you are into a legal process, you should also have tolerance for legal dissents.
But if there's will, you will push it through.
And then the will pushed it through. However, by the time that we survived all the legal battles, to the time the Supreme Court ruled, the Parliament had already expired. So unfortunately, the matter could only even be concluded by Supreme Court when we had done the election. It was after December, somewhere December 12th or so. That was when the judgment came. And then at that time, it was already too late to do anything. And by constitution and by standing orders and our legislative procedures, if a bill fails to be assented to by the time that parliament expires, you have to restart the process.
So if the reintroduction of this bill, is it being reintroduced as is, or are there going to be some changes?
So
as is.
We reintroduced it as it is.
Okay.
There were just minor changes. Well, one of the obvious changes we did was that now it's no longer 2021. So Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2025. Okay. We changed that. But the verbiage, the purpose, the objectives,
still the same.
The essential elements within the bill was the same. The only few changes we made was when we reintroduced it. Now we are 10. We are no longer 8. We are 10.
Who are the other 2
there
who
were
have joined?
2 who have opted out of it for whatever reason. They have opted out. They didn't want to be part again. and we have new ones who have joined in.
Okay.
So the new ones who have joined in, Honorable Sam George is still very much part, and I must commend him for his principled position that he has stood strong. I was in power at the time that, and I was still a member of executive as a deputy minister when I took the risk to co-sponsor. He is a minister, a member of the executive, and his party is in power. He has taken that risk also to be a part. Honorable Bedra has also continued to be a member. He's sponsoring. Honorable Helen Donso is still sponsoring, unwavering. Then we've had Honorable Hassan Tampuli, who has also joined, and Honorable Vincent has joined, Honorable Abdul Kabir Mahama has joined, Honorable Nuruddin has joined, Honorable Tony Mir has also joined. And so we are, and then Honorable Odole Sowa.
Okay.
She was with us in the first one, and she's still, and though she's also a deputy minister and her party is in power, she has still joined.
So the numbers are almost
so 10
even now.
Yes, we are 10 now.
Great stuff.
And so I must applaud all my colleagues who have still stood firm and stood by our conviction that this is the bill that represents the aspiration of the overwhelming majority of Ghanaians. Over 93% of Ghanaians identify with this bill. When in 2021, the CDD conducted Afrobarometer survey, they posited that in this country, 93% of our population wants this bill, wants to identify with these values. Only 7%.
And so when the human rights activists say this bill is potentially Africa's harshest bill against LGBTQ people, what do you say?
No, we disagree. I disagree strongly because the key element of this bill is to frown upon the propagation, advocacy, the practice that's already abhorred by our constitution anyway, but also to create a way for people who, over 90% of the people who have adopted this rather unfortunate, bizarre and perversive lifestyle need help. They actually want help. But because of how we've handled it and because there's no proper framework, they don't know how to formally get help. This bill is going to help such people to get help without having to be punished. But if you refuse to get help and you hide behind some human rights issues here and there to be indulgent in things that society says that is a no-no, it's like saying that why should you punish people who steal, for instance? Why should you punish people who rape, for instance? Why should you punish people who defile, people? Why should you punish people who do certain? They are all moral issues. So it is about the society defining what norms that are important to us,
right,
and we moving in that direction. This bill has not, affronted any international treaty, international law, constitutional law. It does not affront any aspect of the Constitution of the Republic. As a matter of fact, it's very much in line and fulfilling the spirit and letter of the Constitution we have. And so that is where we are. And we've reintroduced it today. The Speaker of Parliament on 27th May made a very bold commitment, declaration in his opening remarks when we reconvened, starting the second meeting of the first session of the 9th Parliament, and notably stated that the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill has been reintroduced, and the Speaker declared that he has completed all processes and that in the coming few weeks is going to go for gazetting, and after 14 certain days is going to be due for laying. First reading will be done. It will be subsequently referred to the Committee on Private Members Bill, and then when they are done with their processes, consequential referral will be made to the Constitutional and Legal Committee, and then the sponsors will team up with them, will engage stakeholders. We have to go through the process all over again. But because it has gone through comprehensive processes of stakeholder consultation, pretty much same stakeholders are available, the length of time we will spend on all these initial processes will not be as long and protracted, because we already know the dissents. We already, all the key controversial issues have been tried and tested in courts all the way to Supreme Court. So there's really nothing new in this bill that would need additional interpretation. So it is expected that within the next 6 months, we should pass it.
And if the president does not sign it?
I think it would be premature to say the president will not sign it.
No, I'm not saying, but it's if.
Yeah, if he doesn't sign it, it would be the Ghanaian people who would show him the red card and show him their, disagreement. Because any president who jokes with this bill, even if you are not running again, you are jeopardizing the fortunes of your own party because it is so politically sensitive. The 6.3 million voters NDC secured, 93% of that vote, if you mistreat this bill, they will turn their anger on you. 93%. That is a survey CDD Ghana Afro-Barometer survey in 2021 depict. So if you're a political figure and the fortunes of your party, if your fortunes is not important to you, think about the fortunes of your party and be advised in the way that you handle this bill.
You're saying if he does not sign it and come 2028, NDC will lose the election?
Miserably. You see, if there's any political polls or survey that will be conducted, it will corroborate the position CDD took in their 2021 Afro-Barometer survey. LGBT matters play a significant role and factor in political behavior.
Did they in 2024?
They definitely played a role.
How?
They definitely played a role.
How?
Oh yeah, they definitely. If I feel that if circumstances had made it possible for President Akufo-Addo to sign it before to assent to it before the expiration of the 8th Parliament, or if the legal constraint had been removed or had not arose, and the hands of the president had not been stayed legally, by court procedures for him to have assented before the election, even like 3 months before the election or so, or a month before the election, the outcome of that results, even if we would lose, would have been different from the way it.
So it was a game changer in your mind?
It is. It is a game
one of the game changers.
It is a very important influencer in political behavior in this country and many other countries. And so, and that is the reason why any president who is so minded about the fortunes of their party should not and cannot joke with it. Now, you see, President Mahama made a clear position and when he was campaigning. As a matter of fact, all the candidates campaigning made their clear positions. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia also made his clear position. They all said that by their religious orientation and beliefs and conviction, they cannot, turn their back on a bill like this. And that if they were president at the time this bill came, they would have assented to it without hesitation. Okay. President Mahama further went on to say that he is a member of Assemblies of God. And so he would have signed this bill in the shape and form as it is, as a private member's bill without hesitation. Then he wins power. Then Cali Bishop Conference go to him, and then this discussion comes up on LGBT issues. And then now he says, look, I think that we have to look at our curriculum. And you heard it. We need to find a way that the curriculum should rather be reviewed to cure these issues, address these issues. I'm like, we had curriculum at the time you said that this is the way to cure those tendencies. Why are you changing your position? Then he quickly comes again, he meets the clergy at Accra International Conference Center. I'm sure the overwhelming support of the clergy when he was campaigning, when those pronouncements came, they must have called him and said, sir, you are treading on dangerous grounds. You're taking our support for granted. You are taking our sensitive priority for granted. Then he promises them at Accra International Conference, when he met the clergy, to thank them, that now I even want to bring a bill. Myself, I'll sponsor it. It's going to be a state-sponsored bill. And they clapped for him. And the next day I told the Ghanaians that this bill is not going to happen. President Mahama would never bring any such bill. The only bill we have is a private member's bill. Why are you preempting? I said, we are here. In the next 4 years, mark it anywhere on the wall. President Mahama would never sponsor a bill like this. Today, 27th May, when we reconvene to start the second meeting of the first session of 9th Parliament, when the leader of government business read the programmed activities and legislation that are priority to the government, a plethora of them, over 35 bills that they had programmed to present, from nuclear power to other things, and many of them from financial to energy to lands and environment and education, legal reform. There was not a single mention of a bill the government intends to introduce, contrary to the assertion that President Mahama made. So if this bill is important to President Mahama, and if he really, beyond the rhetorics, he meant that he is committed to introducing it, the Attorney General would have included the bill as part of the bills he would be introducing this time, beyond the legal reforms and all that. So clearly, it's not going to happen. The only hope, Ghanaians, the only hope we have in protecting and preserving our cherished tradition and customs and beliefs in relation to the practices of human sexual rights and the practices of LGBTQI and all that is the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, Private Members Bill 2025, that we have introduced. We urge and appeal to all to support, particularly the 93% of our population who find these practices repugnant to our values, to support this Private Members Bill. It has all that it takes to preserve our values. And so when it is passed, we will go to the president to be transmitted to him. And then, because now potentially anything that will stay off the hands of president from signing, the Supreme Court has dealt with it. And so there is no impediment legally. And so if, coming back to you, Kafui, Togbi, Amaga, Agato, if President Mahama says he will not sign, if he says he won't sign, then I think NDC should not even campaign, because they've already reduced their 6.3 million votes by 93%.
Let me now talk about a new role that you have in Parliament. You are the ranking member for Defense and Interior. What's that like?
So being the ranking member for Defense and Interior, we work in a team. I have my chairman, Honorable James Agaga, a very experienced legislator. I have my deputy ranking member, Honorable Kofi Menu, who is very strong in security and intelligence matters. He himself having been previously served as Deputy Minister for Defense. Honorable James Agaga had also previously served as Deputy Minister for Interior. Our job is essentially to exercise oversight over the executive in the security sector governance. So our public safety sector, anything to do with the safety of this country, the stability of this country, making our citizens feel safe, our visitors, everyone dwelling here to feel safe. That is what we oversight. So Ghana Armed Forces, the Ghana Police Service, Immigration, Ghana Prison Service, Fire Service, the intelligence agencies relate partly because largely the intelligence agencies fall under security and intelligence, but their coordination with all the security agencies, that aspect relates to us.
Okay.
Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Interior. And so it is important, it is our job to ensure we support safeguarding the integrity of our maritime, our waters, our land, our airspace.
Okay. On Joint News in April of this year, you said 2 suspicious planes landed at Kotoka and might be linked to drug trafficking and money laundering. That was bold. Why were you so sure?
Yeah, so I would have failed my committee and my caucus and Ghanaians, in my duties as a ranking member for Defense and Interior. If when that intelligence, credible intelligence, with all the support evidence that came with it, came to our attention and we failed to act on it. Because we don't want this country to go back to some name it had some time ago that gradually we've dealt with.
What name was that?
United Nations had to put us on a certain categorization for being a destination or a transit point for illicit drugs and money laundering and such trafficking. And we had to work very hard as a country to get off that classification. United Nations Office on Drug and Crime had also had some concerns in some time past. And so we want to make sure that we weed out such tendencies. In less than, at the time those matters came up, it was less than 3 months in office of this new government. Suddenly, there were $500 million bars of high-profile cocaine in this country, $500 million There was one that was $350 million busted somewhere around Cape Coast to Accra. There was another one, $150 million that the NIB indicated that the one behind it allegedly a former NDC parliamentary candidate in Sekondi and all that. So in the midst of all this, and then when the intelligence came, the press conference we held on behalf of the Minority Caucus was bringing these matters to the fore. One, we asked the government that you held a high-profile bust. What has become of the prosecution of the people, the suspects behind it? Nobody has heard about it. Even the state of the cocaine today, nobody knows about it. We only talk about some 89.5 kg cocaine that was busted recently, and that is what is being prosecuted. But the high-profile one, the $350 million and the $150 million, nobody had talked about its prosecution. At the time, we were asking questions. What is the update on it? We also asked questions about the high-profile operation, the national security in the full glove of the media, conducted at Sapeman in Accra, where they uncovered 12 20-footer containers filled with gold and cash currency and all that. And then they themselves went with media to conduct that operation, and they showed it to the whole world. And we're asking 2 months on. We don't even know the suspects behind it. What has become of the investigations? Has there been any suspect arraigned before court? And then in addition to incredible intelligence with supporting evidence we had about flights, 2 ambulances suspected coming from Gran Canaria, and then another Cavoc Air coming from the same location, coming here and then going back. And there was no evidence of any patient they came in with or brought. Even more suspicious was the things, whatever they brought, and whatever they took out. And so we asked that, go into it, investigate, and let us know what they brought, because our suspicion leads to contraband goods, suspected to be cocaine and cash.
And then Mr. Honorable Felix Kwachi-Fusu, who is the government minister responsible for government communication, he clapped back and said your information was dangerous and false. Did you expect that much heat from him?
No, I didn't expect that irresponsible approach from him, because the president had directed very responsibly that investigations should be conducted into the allegations I had raised on behalf of the Minority Caucus. That was a responsible approach. And then he had even tasked National Narcotics Control Commission, Police ID, National Investigations Bureau, and National Security to jointly investigate and collaborate with my good self, so that we'll have a thorough and transparent investigation and put the matter to rest. If indeed such an incident occurred, we will get to the bottom of it. If it didn't happen, and maybe there were certain substances, whether it was powder, whether it was kukunte, or there was even nothing at all, we will get to the bottom of it. And then the whole country will be apprised. That was the directive of the president. But in the execution of the directive given by the president, we got to discover 3 days later that the president didn't even mean what he wrote. When his spokesperson, Kwachi-Fusu, came and said that he speaks on authority of the president, and that the president didn't even mean what they wrote, and that they just want to do something to make an example of me. That's what he said on record. So the Ghanaians were like, there must be something they are hiding, because if they are not hiding anything, then they would have, just obeyed the directive of the president. As a matter of fact, I took the directive of the president so seriously, because I have the greatest of respect for the president.
Were you hurt when he called you a clown?
Oh yeah, I heard all that, and I'll come to that. So when I saw that the president is interested in an investigation and even craves my collaboration, I didn't even wait for the agencies to invite me. The next, we did a press conference on 1st April. 2nd April, I wrote a letter indicating my availability and willingness to meet with the joint committee the president had put together.
Did they respond?
To give them whatever I had with my colleagues, and for them to go and work with it.
Did they respond?
No, the NDC Parliamentary Caucus rather responded to gag that meeting. They said, no way, they will not allow that meeting to come on, and that I should walk into a police station and give them whatever I had. I'm like, no, that's not what the president said. The president joint committee should come together, collaborate with me. What is collaboration? We meet together. I invited them, come. We will sit in Parliament. Even in transparency, My colleagues on the committee from the other side, the majority, they can even join in. We can have a joint meeting, and then we present whatever we had. If the majority NDC MPs were not even interested in that meeting, they could have recused themselves. The agencies would have come, and myself and my colleagues would have given them what we have, and then they will go and work with it. Then we would have known that indeed they want to dispassionately investigate the matter and get to the bottom.
So there was no invitation?
But there was no invitation.
Then after that, NIB officers tried to arrest you.
There was no invitation.
And Parliament stopped them.
They were staying on air that we have invited Ntim Fordjour and is running away. They were peddling lies. But not, NIB never said anything publicly. National Security never said anything publicly. NACOC never said anything publicly, except for their Deputy Director General, who doesn't know what he's talking about, who was jumping from station. Did you hear Brigadier General Mante saying anything about this? No, he will not. He's a seasoned Brigadier General. So he's the head of NACOC. Now, all those agencies, nobody publicly came to react. Nobody on record. So the politicians, knowing how complicit they are in this act that occurred, and feeling the heat, panicked, and then in their very responsible reactions, released attack dogs of the NDC on me, called me all kinds of names, and then decided that, we have invited them. Nobody has called me. Nobody has written to me. And if you're inviting an MP, even just that same week, there were 2 of my colleagues who were invited by NIB. And they followed the processes that every MP, NDC or MPP is invited. They wrote to the speaker.
So the people who came to your house, were they coming to invite you to a meeting?
No.
Who were the people who stormed your house?
So NIB operatives. So they just came and stormed my house because, one, I had exposed them, I had exposed the people, the government and the politicians who were putting up falsehood and trying to gag the investigation.
Did you have any inclination that they would be visiting you?
Oh, I knew they would. I knew they would.
What time did they get to your house?
They got to my house in the morning, somewhere around 11 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Did they manage to enter?
Oh, yes.
The main building?
Oh, yeah, they entered. And they were covered with hoods somewhere in shorts.
Socks?
Shorts. I mean, what NIB security operative in which country will wear shorts? Would covering their faces, not showing and wielding AK-47. Many of them did not even have ID, except for 2 of them who had ID and identified themselves. There was no warrant.
Were you surprised? Were you having breakfast or something? What was happening?
I had some friends. I had some friends over, and we were having discussion. My kids were upstairs because they were on vacation, and then all of a sudden they come in and they said, "We are here to conduct a search." So, okay, you want to conduct a search of my house? Where is your warrant? They couldn't show any warrant. Then they come with more numbers and they say, "We are here to arrest you." To NIB. And so for what offense? What offense have I committed? And what warrant do you have? They couldn't have anything. And then when the leadership of Parliament, my minority caucus, my minority leader, Honorable Afenyo Markin, and the General Secretary of our party, Mr. Lawyer Assin Kruwa, and my colleague and members of Parliament rushed in, and the national executives and our party rank and file heard about it. And the media, they came in because it was unheard of and it was bizarre. It was one of the biggest embarrassment of this government, and one of the biggest, it will go down as one of the biggest embarrassment of the government and the security apparatus.
Has anybody taken responsibility and apologized maybe to you?
I would say when they finally did the right thing, when NIB finally did the right thing and wrote to the speaker, and the speaker permitted. And then they met me in Parliament, on the presence of Parliament, and we held our meeting. They were very sober and regretted the action that had been taken. As a matter of fact, I must give credit to the head of legal and her colleagues who accompanied her from NIB for that meeting. If that is how NIB operates all the time, we will not have these excesses.
What's your relationship like with Honorable Felix Kwachefosu?
He's my neighbor.
Yes, in terms of constituencies, yeah.
Oh yeah, we are neighbors. I don't harbor those things. He knows very well that his approach was wrong, and his deliberate attempt to call me names and all the social media people they unleashed because they have 78 million cedis allocated for government propaganda, and so they can pay anybody to insult anybody in an attempt to gag and even instigate security people coming to storm my house and all that. I mean, they themselves, it didn't take them more than 2 weeks for them to bow down their heads in shame. Him and everybody else that was involved.
Do you expect him to apologize to you?
Well, I'm sure he probably has apologized in his heart already. You know, all of them, because even their own people.
Can you see into his heart?
No, NDC, if you all the way to the president, they were bashed. Even their own people, the kind of backlash. If they cared to follow the media landscape, on the day they stormed my house, they raided my house, and all the way to the week after, if they were minded to care about every media channel, radio, TV, online, even including the very objective-minded NDC people, they got a lot of backlash. And so that guilt is enough. And for me, I am doing my work in all boldness, dispassionately. They can continue to do even worse things, but we'll continue to do even more powerful, exposés will come. But frankly speaking, when Kwacha Fusu did a video and claimed that he was debunking all that I had put out and it was false, they didn't know how much I had. That was a mistake they made. They didn't know how much they just thought that I was only thriving on hearsay. So they went and concocted a video. One of the planes that they claimed they took a video of and claimed that it had come and gone, it was parked here, right here, because I have all the tracking, and I tracked everything live. We did it on Good Evening Ghana. Everybody carried all of them along. One of the flights they said came and got spoiled here, for which another had to come and evacuate, had never stepped foot in West Africa for the past 3 months. So how did they come here and how did they go out? The one that they said, the Ahmed, they said they came here, it was going somewhere, it developed, the tire got burst, the engine, I have the activity log. No such, maintenance took place.
So why is Ahmed and Kavok Air threatening to sue you for false claims?
Have they threatened?
And if they actually sue, are you ready to stand by your...
Have they threatened? Have they threatened? And have they sued? They cannot. Because, you see, the kind of things that are available, that now we are going to put when we are demanding for parliamentary inquiry.
So this matter is still...
still
alive?
Yes. So if Ahmed is interested in opening the eyes of a corpse, they will see a lot of maggots. And we want to do a parliamentary inquiry or a commission of inquiry live on air. We'll put certain things there. And then they will face a lot of charges. Let me just say this. One of the claims Kwacha Fusu made was that the Ahmed got one Ahmed N8 23 AM came in and got spoiled. And then the parts, ties and engines, gearbox had to be flown on another Ahmed N864 AM.
The numbers are in your head like that?
Oh, yes. And then when it came, the tail number, and when it came with, and I'm saying to you, Agato, Amaga, that it was so ignorant of a government spokesperson to make that allegation. Why? Because Ahmed is an ambulance. It is not made to carry cargo. And so if Ahmed had a problem with any of their flights and needed to take parts, their aircraft hub is in Alabama in the United States of America. It is not in Gran Canaria. They don't have any other air hub anywhere around, not even Luanda, Angola, wherever they were claiming. They would have put the parts on a cargo flight straight to Ghana, not on an ambulance. By he claiming that the second Ahmed came with ties, gearbox, when that Ahmed doesn't even have a cargo compartment. It's a violation of Ghana Civil Aviation Authority regulations. It is a clear violation of IATA regulations and a violation of American Federal Aviation regulations. So therefore, by that claim by a government spokesperson, Ahmed should be facing charges and prosecution in Ghana and America. If they indeed carried, gearboxes and ties with their ambulance, even in Ghana, if you ever see any of the one district or one constituency, one ambulance, Ablekuma ambulance, what is inside? Body, gearbox, and ties. Wouldn't you be appalled? Even normal ambulance in Ghana, it's not allowed to carry those things. And how much more an Ahmed carrying. So they were all concoctions. They were fabrications.
I've heard criticisms against you saying, listen, sensitive matters like this should not be splashed out on social media. Why don't you sit down with the authorities, and if you have information, give it to them, let them deal with it.
So
how do you
those
counter
criticisms
that?
are misguided. And I say misguided because they did not follow the conversation. The 1st of April press conference we held, if you read it, the only aspect relating to the Gran Canaria suspected flights was that credible intelligence available to the caucus indicates that on so and so dates, so and so flights came from so and so location.
Did you present that information, that intelligence, to the authorities?
No, I'm coming. This is all we put in our press conference. In our press conference, what's more in that press conference was inappropriate. Tell me. If we said that in the Intelligence Act, it gives provision for credible intelligence.
So you feel you're on the right path?
No, a member of parliament I'm even a recipient by the Act. Just like a police station is also a recipient for such credible information. And so if I have that by my position as a ranking member, and the committee and the caucus has such credible information, all we put out was that we have this credible information
in the media
that this flight came from here and here and carried goods suspected to be so and so.
Why hold the press conference? That's the argument. Why not just go and talk to the people?
We as part of our oversight tools, we have many tools. We can even file urgent questions. We can also hold the minister before us.
Yeah.
We
But
can
you didn't
also
do
hold a
those
committee
things. You
meeting.
went to the press.
We were on recess. We were on recess. And the press conferences are also part of the parliamentary tools.
The party is doing quite a few these days.
Oh, yes.
Almost every week there's a press conference.
Because the NDC is fumbling and they're taking out on very dangerous grounds. We need to regularly hold their feet to fire so they do the right things. So it wasn't inappropriate.
All right.
My
because
press
one of the tools that you have.
No, my press conference just responsibly and in a very circumspect way, appropriate way, put out the credible intelligence.
Where will all this end?
For the investigation to be done. And then I followed it up with a request for us to have a joint meeting. If they had come, it would have been under oath. And so whatever you were able to give,
would have given out.
You're under oath. You can't even go again to radio or TV to say anything further to that. But because they knew what they had done and were running away from it, they prevented it. And so then they go on character assassination. And today that I don't. So the more you say things to debunk what you have refused to investigate, that your president said you should investigate, and even go and concoct a video claiming that it is true, and then people do their live tracking and to debunk 90% of the true so-called truth you have put there.
Briefly, do you have more intelligence that you're going to bring out?
There's more. And so
where is this going to end? Briefly.
And so you see, and the reason why I have not put them out in the media is that you have to be circumspect. But if we go on the full parliamentary inquiry, just like we have had parliamentary inquiry into many sensitive, we had parliamentary inquiry on the former IGP petition.
Yes, indeed.
There was a commission of inquiry on the Ayawaso West Wagon security incident. We've had very sensitive. We had the NV Benjamin, inquiry.
So Parliament is back, and so hopefully,
so we are pushing for that.
Okay.
NDC is conveniently running away from it. All the inquiries they mentioned they were going to do this meeting, they didn't mention that.
I'm sure
we are going to
you put them on their toes.
Yes, but if they decide to do the right thing, the right information will be given for the right things to be done. Okay. When they have demonstrated that they don't have any prejudices and that they are going to do a very clean job. So if Airbus and all those people, how many months now? If there was something they had to do you think they'll be waiting till now?
Your rhetorical question takes me to another call out. So previously, the foreign minister, Samuel Okudzeto Blakwa, once said that he would resign if a government used a private jet. And when Vice President Opoku Agyemang flew on one, you called him out to resign. Was that about holding him accountable or making a political point?
Is it Proverbs 18 verse 7 says that the words of a foolish person is their ruin, and that the words of man a man gets caught up in his own words. That's the second part. I'm not even dwelling on the first part because of the connotation of some words in the foolish man. You know, my colleague, for the greatest of respect, no member of parliament, even no fellow citizen, will I refer to as a foolish person. But the word of God puts it that way, and I have no other word to describe that. You see, our own words, the words we speak, and the things we say, they are there waiting for us. If you make a vow, that vow is there, waiting for you tomorrow. This Honorable Kujetu is my very good friend. We've served on the Foreign Affairs Committee. He's a fantastic, brilliant legislator, you know. But he went too far when he was in opposition in certain oversight duties he did. MPP has never, ever had a problem with any president, whether NDC or MPP president, flying private jets, or vice president flying private jets. As a matter of fact, from President Rawlings, President Kufuor, President Atamels, President Mohammed's first term, the issue of presidential travels was never even a public discussion, whether they use private jet or not. It only became a matter of public discourse when Honorable Kujetu Ablakwa chose to politically and through propaganda run down the reputation of the MPP and the president by holding documents to discuss presidential travels. We have only one presidential jet. And presidential jet is such that there are scheduled periods where you have to go for maintenance. And so even if it's available and you don't have the certificate to fly and the president needs to go somewhere, you need to have options, either to fly private jets or commercial. See, the exigencies of presidential travel is such that, as we speak, where is President Mahama? He's in another country.
Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire.
He's in Abidjan. Yeah. So he went on a private jet.
Indeed.
If he were to go on a commercial flight, probably Askai or Awa would take him to Lomé somewhere and then wait for a certain number of hours and back. And sometimes they will even tell you the number of seats available. We can't take you, we can only give you 2 seats.
So you seriously want the foreign minister to resign because of the statement he made?
So in such an instance, you want only the president and his ADC to be in a flight. What about the rest of the crew? So the inconvenience and the impropriety in using commercial flights in many of the bilateral travels or multilateral assignments of the president and the vice gives room for the use of private jets. And so I, Ntim Fordjour, support 100% any president or vice if the security architecture so determined that for this particular travel, the president must be on a private jet. It should not be politicized. You see, but Honorable Kujetu Ablakwa went categorical on CCTV, on Adom FM and other stations and said that without provocation, that it is wrong for the president to fly private jets. It should be strictly commercial if the presidential jet is unavailable. And that any time should his future NDC government come to power, that his president or vice will use a private jet, he will resign in whatever position he held.
Do you want him to resign?
And he went further to say that I say this on principle. It's a matter of principle. And I know my very good friend, I've worked with him for a very long time, my good brother Honorable Kujetu Ablakwa. If he's a man of principle, as he said, then he should just do the needful, because his reputation is in danger. And the man, I know him, he's a man of principle. So he should go do the right thing and say, look, I said this, and so it has caught up with me. I am resigning.
I saw a fake letter going around, making the rounds.
That letter was fake.
Yeah.
That letter was
because
fake.
I checked from him and he said it.
No, that letter was fake. So Ghanaians believed it because they felt that, oh, he's a man of integrity. He has documents about everybody. I'm sure he probably will have your documents.
I'm not a public officer paid by the government.
He has everybody's, so he's painted himself quite a reputation that he's a saint and everybody else not. And so Ghanaians think that he's a man of integrity, he's a man of credibility, he's a man of principles.
Will you remind him when you see him in the chamber?
Yeah, I was signaling. I used to
at post.
Have you not resigned? But he just smiled and waved, and then But Ghanaians, on a more serious note, and as I've seen the reputational damage he has caused himself And the only way out for his credibility to be intact is for him to resign. Because from today, nobody's going to take any word he says serious.
Let me take...
what is wrong with the vice president coming? For me, when I heard the vice president had returned, I was so, my heart was so filled with joy. Because this is the mother for all of us, the vice president of the country, my vice president, your vice president, our vice president. And God has been so kind to her and healed her, given her strength. We thank God. And however she came, it's even not a matter that should be for discussion. If she came on a private jet, commercial, why should it even be a discussion? We should be discussing the fact that God has given her health, and to be wishing her, good health for the rest of her period, even when she's on retirement. So, but because NDC introduced this rather, propagandist and infantile dynamic into our politics, and we want them. Now, you won't go far with it.
So you just want them to fall on their own swords because of what they said?
I don't want them to fall on their own sword. They have fallen on their own sword. We didn't put those words in their mouth.
Right.
But, Honorable Okudzeto Blackwell is my good friend. The reputational damage he has done himself. The only way out for him is to resign so that Ghanaians will take him seriously. Whenever he gave reference to when he resigned from the appointment committee on the same tape and said that the same way he will resign. So why is he still at post? I don't wish evil for him.
Right.
When he was nominated, if you go into Hansard and were approving them in Parliament, I wished him well in Hansard. And I said I have every, confidence in his capability to excel. Him, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, Honorable Maneboama, Honorable John Jinapo.
He just wanted to follow his words.
And all my friends. I said, I know their capabilities, Honorable Rashid Purple, and I know they will succeed. We will support them to succeed. But he had been caught up in his own words. And so he should just do the honorable thing. So the next time, when you are in opposition, like those of us in opposition, when you are making some vows and you are, espousing some principles, you'll be minded that tomorrow your party will be in power.
You are in opposition now, and quite a few people claim that you are trying to stay in the spotlight, and that's how come we hear you in the news after the MPP lost the election, and you are just seeking attention. How do you answer people who say you are doing too much?
A typical example, and there's a question I'll throw at you. You invited me to be on this show, and I had to accept because of the great respect I have for you. And you're a very good friend. I enjoy watching you, even right from my younger days. I admire the way you do your journalism. And so when you invite me on a show like this, it would be very disrespectful for me to decline. And to tell you, Kafui, I'm so busy, I can't attend your invitation. And so there are other media channels who may also have extend similar invitations. It will be so arrogant on my part to say, no, I have nothing to tell you. That is not respectful, and we work, this governance work is done with a fourth estate. And so, though not every invitation, I decline a lot of invitations, but I can't decline all invitations. And so if tomorrow somebody sees me on your show, they will say, oh, he's jumping from station to station, but that is not the case.
You just don't, you will talk, you don't decline.
Yes, I decline a lot of it, but there are some you definitely, how can I look at Egato Amaga, a seasoned journalist, a role model to many, and then I'll say I will not engage you. No, and we've had very fruitful discussions. So no attention. Me, I just want to be my pastor and in the future become a bishop.
Okay.
And I've always said it wherever I go.
That's your goal?
I just want to be, that's my biggest ambition. I just want to be a bishop and then serve in God's vineyard so faithfully. And then tomorrow when I go back to my maker, to say that, yeah, you've been a faithful servant, you've fought a good fight. Yeah, that's all I want to do. So it's not about attention.
Let me deal with three other issues. So
but when they do the right thing, we'll applaud them. But if they keep doing wrong things,
deal with them.
Whether they accuse us of attention or not, we will hold their feet to fire.
During the Assin North by-election, you were accused of vote buying, which you denied. What really happened?
I was accused of vote buying.
Yes.
Assin Ntim Fordjour.
Yes.
I'm in Assin South.
No, not your election.
Oh, as you mean as in a party?
Yes.
The party was accused of vote buying. And who accused? NDC.
This was reported in City News.
That MPP was buying votes.
Yes.
And what was NDC doing? Selling?
I don't know. I don't belong to NDC.
So MPP was buying votes and NDC was selling votes. So what were they doing? NDC was just watching on. I'm interested in what NDC, if they accuse MPP of votes buying, what were they also selling or buying? Were they buying thumbs or buying ballot papers?
I don't have experience in
okay, so maybe elections. When we get their response, it would help the conversation. That's my response.
That's your response. Did you once call for a probe into some money that was used for political campaigning? This is reported by Joy Online, May 2025, this month.
Yes. When accountability, probity, these are tools that if you're a public servant and you're serving the nation, you should be prepared to do, and you should be prepared to give accounts. You should be as our oversight mechanisms, largely accountability. And so when our brother, I say our brother because we're all Ghanaians, Mr. Dubois, as he's facing trial, gave some very damning revelations in his attempt to give account to the 49 million cedis that he's facing trial for, among other things. He said that 8.3, he didn't misuse the money, he didn't misappropriate the funds, and that these are the accounts, what he used it for, operations, national security operations. One of it was some millions, over 10 million, that he said was classified. The recipient was classified. But related to that was another 8.3 million that Mr. Dubois alleged that he paid to opposition party for equipment, election equipment, election gadgets, opposition party.
You didn't name the specific party?
No, it was not opposition party. But we have minor opposition parties. We have the only main parties we have MPP, NDC, every other person minor. And so opposition party, who else would need gadgets? These are opposition parties.
It's a party.
And so if NDC is in opposition, definitely there's no gadgets that if an opposition party needed, you would jump over NDC and go and give to Cheddar or go and give to Kradonko or go and give to Apalu.
What came of your call?
Now, he also said that 5.135 million was used to buy vehicles for president-elects in December. President-elects, President Mahama, but he didn't use Mahama. So president-elects, special aids, 3 vehicles, 5.135 million. There were also some allegations about some monies he claims were allowances, which he paid to some committees in Parliament, Defense and Interior Committee and Subsidiary Legislation Committee, allowance for passing some legislations. And I thought that those allegations were very wild. And there were no allegations that should be just allowed in the public without probing for it to stay in some minds, to cast some smear on the reputation of Parliament as an institution, the particular committees in question, and also the political party, the opposition party, NDC, that allegedly received 8.3 million at the peak of campaign when MPP was in power.
You didn't name it, you just said opposition party.
Yes,
but
opposition party. So is it not even fair that if the perception is that it is NDC and it is not, that a probe comes to unravel who that party is?
Who should probe?
Parliament has the right to probe.
Okay. Will you bring it
the
up?
The executive also have the right to probe.
Will you bring it up?
These are all part of the probes I'm interested in.
Okay.
Among the cocaine saga and then the probe on these flight issues and the consequential resignation that should accompany, and the probe on the allegations made. But we need to know the truth. You can't just allege something that smears all of us, our reputation.
Yeah. So you're going to follow this up?
Yes, and nobody. And when I asked that question, interestingly, my very good friend Defamation just came and insensitively replied, sensational, and I thought it was needless because you're a chief whip. And so it is an opportunity for Parliament to exonerate itself from. And I like the approach of Honorable James Agaga, the chairman of Defense and Interior Committee. He came and gave accounts and debunked that no, he was ranking member of the Committee of Defense and Interior at the time of that assertion, and even named who the chairman was at the time. and said that no such monies came.
Okay.
And that they did not even have any interaction with the man, Dubois, throughout the period of the legislation.
So does that settle it?
And so that settles an aspect
Okay.
of the claim to the Defense and Interior Committee.
Yes, indeed.
But nobody has debunked on the Subsidiary Legislation Committee.
Okay.
And I said that, Honorable Dafiameko, you were the vice chairman of the committee in 2024. The guy said, the gentleman said 2024. And on records, between June to December 2024, you were the vice chairman of subsidiary legislation. And so is it not fair that if you didn't, because it's a committee, you didn't say Dafiameko.
Yeah.
So if indeed that allegation is false, that nobody paid anything to your committee, a probe will settle it. Because nobody in the name of the committee had come to institutionally deny it.
Okay.
He took offense, said all kinds of things, threatened the issue, up to now, even waiting to be said. But you see, when you are calling for probe, people should be comfortable because they should be interested in the truth. When the cash for seed thing came, everybody, I mean, all the people who were initially suspected to have done some wrongdoing, they were so comfortable, they welcomed the probe because it was an opportunity to exonerate themselves.
So you want your people to
It
just
was,
welcome it?
and their names were cleared.
Okay.
They were exonerated. Their respect and dignity and integrity were intact. If that probe had not come, their reputation would have not been conducted. Their reputation would have been perpetually damaged. So it is only fair for such, probes to be done without any malice.
This is my last money question, and you will like this one. So you sued, and you won a number with lots of zeros. 700,000 Ghana cedis in the defamation case. What was that about? Is it about clearing your name or making a point? What was the offense? What did the person do?
Yeah, so Kafui, like I indicated from the beginning, when I had a shock of the extent to which people can fabricate things on you in politics, I got prepared for it. I let many lies, go by. But it gets to a point, certain lies, if you don't, set the record straight, will forever remain in the records, dent your reputation, and reduce you in the eyes of many. Ordinarily, as a pastor, even before becoming a pastor, I'm not a litigant. I don't like litigation. But I had to painstakingly and reluctantly go this path to set the record straight. But there were too many, government sponsored and opposition sponsored elements who were emboldened by some people to go out there and to smear my name. Some of them had defrauded people. Some said I had gone to sell some lands, and some said I had gone to collude with some chiefs to sell some lands and then embezzle the money. And then some families are looking for me. Some said I had defrauded some businessman, and some even brought it on front page. So many things. And so I needed to, and they were coming from pockets, some on social media, traditional media. So I needed to just settle matters in the minds of Ghanaians, because these days, headlines sell.
Yeah.
You just read the headline, you don't even bother to,
That's
and then you make an impression or form, a perception of the person,
based on the
and you
headline.
will never have the opportunity to clear their name. So I thought that it was too much noise. I needed to clear for reputation.
Was this one case?
So there were two.
And you won
And there were a
both?
mix of two people jointly.
Okay.
And there were a mix of allegations, but they all bothered about defrauding, about selling some land, and all of them were total fabrications.
How long did the cases
never
last from beginning to judgment?
It wasn't very long. Okay. It wasn't very. I must applaud the judiciary for the very diligent and swift work they did, and so they settled the matter, and there was all lies, and so. That defamation award was done, but it's not for the money.
Have they paid though?
No, they haven't yet paid, but they are going to pay. And every CD of it, will retrieve it, and will take it, and I'll go and graciously donate it to charity to make sure that the less privileged are comfortable, and we give them the kind of facilities and welfare that they'll be happy with for a very long time in their lives.
I'm curious about your lawyer. Who defended you?
In this case, it was lawyer Jeff Quanting.
Okay.
And I also have Honorable Atachia. I have Honorable Bafo, Member of Parliament.
People will be surprised that Honorable Atachia is your lawyer. No, there won't be. No. He would. You're in the same party.
So so on a number of cases, Honorable Atachia has been, and on other cases, Honorable Nana Bafo. And then on this particular case, it was on lawyer Jeff Cranton.
If they don't pay the 700,000, what happens?
Oh, the court has their own enforcement procedures.
Okay.
And so that will be enforced. But most importantly is the retraction and the publication of retraction of the allegation with the same prominence and the same channels. But we'll take it and give it to charity to serve as deterrent.
Okay, great.
If anybody calls you to go and smear my reputation, you have to be sure that you know what you're talking about, because such have consequences. Yeah, because, I mean, by the grace of God, as a pastor, as a public servant, I mean, as a family person, the name is all we have. I don't have much, but all I have is my name.
Were your children reading all these allegations?
Oh, yes, they read them.
How did they feel? How did they come up to you and say, Daddy, what's going on?
Yeah, what have you done?
They asked you that?
Yeah, I mean, I was very surprised when one of the very young ones, very, very brilliant, very young girl, brilliant. Things I wouldn't even expect that she knows. She'll interrogate. What have you done? What happened?
Wow.
And then you think that she's too young to understand certain things. Yeah. So it's because they have my name. And so you Google my name and your name is my name. And so things related to names are so sensitive. So if anybody hires you to say anything or publish anything about me and it's false, just be sure that you have your facts. But that said, it is part of the occupational hazards.
Yeah, indeed.
You every day encounter smear, campaigns.
What's the most ridiculous thing you've heard said about you in your time as a politician?
I think I'll go back to when the couple came and said that I had that affair.
That was ridiculous.
That was really dangerous. Yeah. And recently, when the cocaine saga came, they sponsored people, and some were saying I had done this with them, I had done that, some all related around the same thing. But you go into the accounts, and there's only 2 followers. And
you know it's a bot.
It's a bot.
We're almost out of time, but just briefly, I mean, NPP was in power for 8 years, but you're now in a position. Looking back, what is one thing that NPP really nailed? I mean, you got that right in your 8 years, and one thing that you really messed up with?
See, NPP, President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia will be remembered kindly. Posterity will look upon them very kindly, and all the ministers and appointees that were with them. But essentially, NPP, President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, they are the leadership. They were able, very fantastic things, record-breaking things that had never happened before. For instance, we were able to have free SHS. Free SHS, universal for all, for the rich, for the poor, their children to be able to access secondary education without having to pay their fees. That was a systemic and economic barrier removed. For me, I mean, from the background I related to you, I almost missed my secondary school education because money was very tough. I just barely survived. There were a lot of friends I had who entered but could not survive, and they dropped out.
You never have
They
been
were so
here.
brilliant. I would never have been here. When we worked on the farm, there were many of my friends, after we weed for the first part, and we are sharpening our cutlass to go again, we ask ourselves, what will you do? Once I want to be an agric engineer, I want to be a mine engineer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a teacher, I want to be for general. All those dreams were shattered because they couldn't continue. They couldn't go. And here is a president who comes to say everybody should go for free. And even when the country was so fiscally, financially constrained, said, no, I will not compromise. We will pay for them to go.
So that one, NPP nailed it.
150,000 people were staying home every year.
Yeah.
But when we did this, we increased enrollment from an average 830,000 when you go to Form 1 to Form 3 to 1.5 million. We doubled it.
So that was great. Where did you guys mess up? Looking back.
No, I think
The biggest
that
mess up.
not all the decisions we took, and myself inclusive, not all the decisions we took sat well with Ghanaians.
Name one.
And on hindsight, we have accepted.
Name one
Yeah,
decision
we have
you took that
accepted
really
because,
didn't hit Ghanaians well.
but no government, even the best government in the whole world, if you are doing even a comparative analysis of performance,
You can't get it right all the time.
even the best government in history or the best president in history who did the best of things will still be the one who had 1 or 2 decisions that where he will look back and say, I could have done this better. We in MPP feel that we did to the best of our ability. We campaigned on very superior records. We were able to restore teacher and nursing training allowances. We kept the lights on. We ensured that digitalization became a major feature of our society. We ensured that STEM schools were introduced, and so robotics and a practical demonstration of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics was embraced. Chill and poor were gradually moving away. We have young people from Mamfi Girls, Efia Kobe, Prempe. They go all the way to global stages, win amazing robotics awards. We're very proud. Inventions were taking place right here in our public schools as young as 15, 13, 14, and 16. They were inventing drones. The drones will fly, surveillance, come back to land on manned boats, and they did it. Navy, Ghana Navy took interest, partnered our young girls, Ofiakobi, many other inventions in many other schools.
So where
including JHS and primary schools.
But where did it go wrong?
So, but you'll still find a few things that we need to be honest and say that, okay, we could have done one or two better.
But you don't want to say it.
We could have done one or two better.
If you had the power to hit the reset button on your party, what would you fix first?
We won't press the reset button.
Because it is an NDC term.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you had to fix something, if you had to press a button to fix something, what would you fix first? Forget reset. What would you fix first?
But that was just on the light side.
I know. What would you fix first?
Yeah,
if you had that power.
Yeah, I think that we'll have to listen more.
Okay.
And then we also have to be very, very humble. It is something that both NDC and PP, NDC has even started showing it too early. The arrogance of power is just too much. It's like 10 times what any well-meaning Ghanaian will assess us in 8 years. Within 5 months, they are over the roof with arrogance of power. And we think that we have to check that. I also think that the party structures at the grassroots is something that we have to take a look at and to reform. Processes are underway. We have a few things, but I may not be able to share all because of time.
Sure.
But there are a couple of things that on hindsight we feel that we need to do. And when we get opportunity to come to power, we have to do differently.
You look calm all the time, but I mean, when you're away from the public space, what rattles you? What annoys you?
Oh, well, I can't think of maybe many things, but...
When was the last time you got angry, really?
Once in a while I do. Once in a while.
What ticks you off? What makes you angry?
Once in a while I do, but I think it has to, when people lie, when people fabricate things, when people know this is false and they still want to push it, it can be troubling. Yeah, because you expect that everybody should approach things the way you expect things to be approached, but others think differently.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't change who you are. I still don't want to be a sanguine, or I still don't want to be a choleric.
Right.
I'm happy, my calm, quiet self.
When was the last time you cried?
Non-controversial.
Yeah. When was the last time you cried?
Well, I cry often when I'm worshiping.
Okay.
Yeah, when I'm in deep worship, that one, it can come. And those ones quite a number of times, particularly when I'm worshiping alone, like midnight and I'm praying or worshiping. I mean, it's me and my Lord.
Yeah,
and so.
And when your mom died, how was that?
Yeah, that was painful. Yeah, very, very painful. I really wished at the time that she could have stayed on a little bit more, at least for another 10 years. Yeah, because such a lovely woman and have very strong bonds, dating way. A lot of things I know now, I learned from her. Trading, because I'm very young, she would fry bull fruits, and then you carry it, go and sell, come back and give accounts. She had some little trading, because she couldn't write. She could read, but she couldn't write. I was her accountant, very young age, and taught me how to keep accounts, creditors here, and money here, how much we are going here, the sales. I wonder where she got all those skills from, and religiously, because she's She was a pastor, a prophetess, and I saw a lot of things, how she devoted. One of the things I feel, a lot of the blessings I get, I think they are not answers to my prayers, probably answers to the prayers of my mom, or answers to the kind of good deeds she did, because haven't done much such good than she did. When we were young, there were times we may be hungry, but she would feed others, those strangers, maybe Muslims, they may be other religions, and you'll be surprised that a pastor, a priest, would rather take in other people from other religions. She taught me religious tolerance. Sometimes there were people from Niger and other traders from Chad. They will come, they're Muslims, and they don't live in the village. She will sack us from a room and make sure that she prepares that place. She doesn't know them from anywhere. And even if they're going to stay there for a week or month, feed them. Every national service teacher who taught in the village, whether she knew them or not, for the 1 year they will stay, she will feed them one hot meal every day. And I'll be the one carrying the food to them. She was so hospitable. A lot of the good things she did for strangers, I'm sure I'm receiving those favors. And maybe I'm yet to get answers to my prayers. So when she died, it was quite painful. I thought she should have stayed around a bit more.
What did you call her?
Auntie.
And what did she call you?
Ofaya. Ofaya. She never called me Yao. She always added Ofa.
Wafa is uncle. So
yes.
Why do you think she called you Wafa Yao? And
I wasn't even named after her uncle. My first name was named after the founder of a church, the great prophet John Mensah. He founded Church of Christ, spiritual movement. If you speak to Honorable Afenyo Makin, there's a relation there. Very, very strong prophet. He raised a lot of strong leaders we have today. I don't have their permission to mention on air, but off air I'll mention to you. They are very established and doing well in the Lord. My local name was after my grandfather from Buankra, Ejiso Buankra. Yeah. But he migrated from Ashanti region to Assin.
So what's that name?
Ntim.
Ntim. Okay.
Yes. And then Fordjour is my dad. So
the day on which you were born was what?
Thursday.
So you're Yao.
Yeah.
And she added Wafa to it.
Yeah, Wafa.
Maybe a sign of respect.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was always Wafa.
Yeah.
Wafa. Even when she was angry, she wouldn't drop the fire. Though she was angry with me a lot of times. But I learned a lot from
Sounds like a good woman.
Aunties are how my elder sisters and brothers called her. I don't know why they didn't call her mommy or ma. And so we all ended up saying auntie, including the grandchildren. Everybody say auntie.
When things get intense for you, who do you turn to?
God.
Straight up.
Yeah. And then when it's not that spiritual, my wife. Yeah, because apart from God, she's my closest friend.
What's something random about you that people would not ever guess? People would never believe that, oh, Reverend John, Ntim Fordjour. Are there any things that you do or you like that would surprise us?
I think they should. Yeah, and that's what should. That
should be the surprise. You never tell me. I mean, when all this is said and done, and people talk about Reverend, maybe Bishop, who knows, John Ntim Fordjour, what's one thing you hope people will remember about you? As a person, not as a politician, as a person.
As a person, what I pray that people will remember about me, one, that I led them to Christ, and two, that they got some opportunity. Their lives became better because of something little I did. Just those.
I'm sure as a man of God, preacher, you get tempted. How do you deal with it?
Even Jesus was tempted. So you need to be conscious that temptations will come. But you have to hold fast to the word of God. And be conscious that you have to put on the full armor. Full armor. And then with that, you're ready for the temptations. And be conscious that you should overcome it.
Can you see them when they are coming, the temptations?
Some you may not.
Okay.
Yeah, but others you will see clearly.
That's
coming. You have to be wise so that you don't pass on and get punished. You have to flee, or you have to circumvent, or you have to address it, head on, depending on what direction, the nature of it.
Akpanao. Thank you so much. Reverend John Ntim Fordjour, Member of Parliament for Assin South. Engineer, preacher, politician.
Thank you very much, Kafui.
It's a pleasure.
This is a dream come true for me.
I'm really honored to have spoken to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.